Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. For the city manager update today, want to just give you a couple upcoming dates that we have coming up here in this next month or two. The Weed Ad Hoc Committee is going to meet on February 7th, which we hope to conclude the work of that committee. That is at 12 o'clock at City Hall. Flood Control MI-1 meeting will be February 9th at 7 at the auditorium. Storm Sewer District 122 will have another public meeting. It's not required, but we wanted to give those members of that community another opportunity to talk with city staff about the formation of the potential formation of the Storm Sewer District, and that'll be February 13th at 6:30 again at the auditorium. Just want to remind everyone, President's Day is coming up, February 20th. City offices will be closed that day. Continuing on in the calendar, the Sales Tax Ad Hoc Committee will be February 21st at 12 o'clock. They'll be taking a week off and then reconvening the following week. Planning Commission is on February 27th at 6 o'clock. Finance and Improvements and Airport Committee will be February 28th at 4:15 at City Hall. Public Works and Liquor and Gambling Committee will be held also March 1st at City Hall at 4:15. And then, of course, the next City Council meeting will be March 6th at 6:30 here at City Hall. As you know, I talked with the council last time. There's sort of very big projects on the horizon here that we've been talking about for some time as a community. I wanted to give you the status also of some of these as I've learned more about them. The flood control phases 1 through 3 for our community. I want to give you a current status. The water treatment plant hazard mitigation project is almost complete, which is great news. The final touches will be put on this spring, which is very exciting. And then phases 1, 2, and 3 are scheduled to begin in 2017. There's going to be a bid late summer that will give us at least an idea of the cost of that particular project. The state funding has not yet been allocated. Of course, that's going to happen here in the next month or two through the legislative actions. There is about $21 million that's currently available at the State Water Commission, which we're hopeful that we'll be able to acquire. And in addition to that, we expect another $70 to $80 million from the State Water Commission in appropriations. The local match that we would have to come up with is going to be $48 million plus or minus. And that's including the buyouts for those particular areas that incorporate phases 1, 2, and 3. Next, the Northwest Area Water Supply project is still in a bit of a limbo. Our local cost share is about $75 million. The city currently has $34 million. I think you've heard that in the coffers so far. So in order to finish that project, should we get a favorable ruling from the courts, would be about $41 million. There's some good news here, and that is that if we can get the biota plant funded by the state and or federal government, then that could be significantly, the local share could be significantly reduced, thereby making it about a $47 million project, again $34 million of which we would have already funded, meaning we'd only have to come up with the $12 million to work on that project. Both of those projects are being financed out of the sales taxes that we collect for the city. The first penny, as you can see, half of that goes to flood control and earns us about $4.5 million annually. And the NAS project had been funded for some time, as you all know, and the sales tax distribution was reallocated until we could get that project moving again and out of the courts. So what's important here to keep in mind is that between those two projects, there's going to be about $362 to almost $400 million worth of financing needs. And this is, of course, why the Sales Tax Ad Hoc Committee is meeting to talk through what we can do in order to advance these projects, keep them in a schedule that makes sense and is reasonable, but also do it in a way that is financially feasible. Next, I want to mention some activities that have taken place on the National Disaster Resilience Program, or NDR. When I joined the city, it was pretty clear that we needed a little bit more direction and some momentum in and around these projects, or in this series of projects. So I met with the appropriate staff internally, and we also met with our consultants and generated a governance structure to organize and essentially make more clear the lines of communication and areas of responsibility for the various projects of the NDR program. We're taking a project management approach. We'll have one program manager that's going to lead several single project managers who will comprise or lead support teams. And those support teams will be made up of both stakeholders, subject matter experts, support staff, and anyone else that's appropriate in order to advance the project. Now I wanted to, this will be my first time sort of doing this, if I can find the pen, which I don't see. So I might just have to describe the...
Eric's coming to your rescue.
Do you have the pen?
It's hiding.
There we go. Okay, it's hiding. Let's see if we can do this. So, so I want to talk about this structure and essentially point. Let me get this to work too. All right. Okay. Derek. Another moment.
It worked in rehearsal.
It did. Why can't I write on that?
That's a good question.
Okay.
You filibuster. I'll just keep trying.
Fantastic. All right. If we could circle it, you'd see that there's an NDR program manager position three boxes down from the top. That particular position would be a new position that I would recommend the council consider. Now, this position would be a position that would be a full-time equivalent and last the duration of the NDR program. That position would be financed 100% from the Community Development Block Grant that came from the, or is the administration component of the NDR program. Now, I'll remind the council that we have $3.7 million of federal funding to pay for administrative costs, just like this. So adding this particular resource to the team would allow us to continue to make continue the momentum and make progress on the NDR program at no additional cost to the city. I'll also add that that $3.7 million of administrative funding does not take any funding away from all of the other projects that have already been identified and earmarked for funding under the NDR program. So it's really a no cost to the city, no cost to the program, because it's already been identified and allocated as such. And then if you look kind of to the southwest of the block that I was just describing, you'll see a box called City Program Staff. And these are the staff that two of which we still have on staff, Chris Owen and Derek Hackett, to handle the public outreach and education and also to handle the program compliance. You'll notice that Cindy Humphill's name is up here, and you might say, well, wait a minute, she doesn't work with us anymore, and that is true. Cindy, as you know, however, she's retired from the city just last week. She has agreed to stay on in an interim capacity, in a part-time interim capacity, I might say, for up to 6 months to help us transition and train the new NDR program manager. What's important here is that we wanted to have some continuity in the program, particularly the buyout areas and some of the other areas that she has institutional knowledge on that we want to retain and continue that momentum of the NDR programs that she was working on. So she has agreed to do that. What this would require is that we develop a job description also for that position. And that position could be is planned to be financed almost 90% or so, again, by the administrative funds that are in the NDR program administration allocation. There is a potential to also use Cindy to help with the transitioning of the new finance director once hired. And so it might be my recommendation as we work through this to have maybe 10% of that position funded by the general fund, which would likely come from cost savings during the time period that she's vacated that position, and it takes us to get the new finance director in line. So I'm hopeful that'll be a no net increase to the budget also. So those are probably the two highlights as it relates to incorporating Cindy's institutional knowledge, and I'm grateful for her willingness to work with us as we've tried to continue the momentum on NDR. That being said, I'll continue then. Another subject, automated collection. Some good news here. The trucks are already under construction, and we may actually take delivery of those vehicles sooner than we thought, maybe a month to 6 weeks earlier. That means we might be able to roll out the program in June instead of July, and I think that's what staff are planning for. Just a couple things that you will want to be aware of, because we're sending information out to the community right now in and around this program. We've already sent a letter that everyone should have received talking about the program and some facts, frequently asked questions. The rate increase corrects inadequate methods of funding through the tipping fees that was subsidizing the rates. You already know about that. But I think the important point here is that the container election is going to be happening over this next couple of months. And so postcards have been mailed, have been and are continuing to be mailed this week. And residents will have an option of 3 sizes that they can choose. They'll need to inform us as to what those sizes are so that we can get them their carts in time for this rollout. So if you get questions or whatnot, that's kind of what's going on right now. We've got these postcards going out, and so there may be a little bit of confusion about what's happening, although we've tried to be clear about what to expect. The valet service that has gotten a lot of attention recently is something we're still continuing or planning to continue to offer to residents who have disabilities. We'll take the cart out to the street and then back to their home as well. And of course, the ultimate goal here is to have cleaner streets, a safer work environment, and lower the costs to the utility with these specialized containers. There's a kind of interesting and fun campaign going on in the community right now. You may or may not know about it. It's called Build Minot. This is being led by the library, and it's kind of an interesting project. They are taking these mega blocks, these building blocks, and they're it's very simple. They're just asking community members to come and participate and write their ideas for what they want to see in their community on each of these blocks, and then they start building structures off of them. And so it's a great, innovative, and sort of interactive way for us to get information about what the community would like to see Minot look like in the future. I'm pretty excited about this because I'm hopeful that we will have, in some time to come, some visioning exercises with the ultimate goal of developing a strategic plan for the city, and this could be the foundation for some of that work. I don't have a timeline for you on that, but it is a goal of mine as I get up to speed to be able to move towards. So I'm pretty excited about this. The project began in January of this year, and it will continue for a couple of months, and these at various locations around the city. So it's kind of a neat idea. One of the things I've heard a lot about from both council members and the community is intensifying our efforts as it relates to the communications front. So I've sat with Derek already, and we've identified a number of different projects that we'd like to develop communications plans for, and a global communications strategy for the city. You can see just with one meeting how many things come to the surface here. We've got 20 different ideas so far, and there's considerable work as it relates to this subject matter. So we'll be continuing to do what we can to pursue more frequent communications and be proactive in those communications going forward. Lastly, the mayor kind of alluded to this already. Staff remain very attentive to and involved in the legislative process this year. Staff's doing a lot of work behind the scenes you may not know about, including monitoring bills, writing various statements for testimonies, doing issue analysis. When we get a new bill that comes out, we want to look at it, see if there's an impact to the city. Also participating in weekly conference calls with the North Dakota League of Cities, attending weekend forums with the Chamber of Commerce, and then testifying at legislative committees. Right now there's about 810 bills that are active in the session, with about 150 that could impact the city of Minot, and other cities for that matter. Some of them are listed here on the right of the screen. We're going to get to this next week, so I'm just going to skip forward, but we want to recognize some police officers that aren't here tonight, so we're going to hold off and recognize them next month when they're both available. Lastly, and I've already mentioned, Cindy Hemphill retired after over 10 years with the city, and Rick Hare, our street superintendent, retired also, both in the same week. I don't know if they had that planned or not. So I want to just let you know what's happening in their absence. Sue Greenheck and Penny Johnson are going to be co-managing the finance department right now. We've identified duties that each of them will take on, and so they'll be helping us to co-manage the department until we can find a new finance director. And by the way, we are interviewing, the committee is interviewing, I should say, two finance director candidates Thursday of this week, and then I'm slated to interview them sometime next week. So we're hopeful that we can, out of those two folks, find a good finance director and offer a job here shortly. And then finally, Kevin Broughton was promoted after Rick Hare left to the street superintendent position. He started immediately, so he's in that position and managing our streets department right now. So with that, I'll stop, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Otherwise,
any questions for Mr. Berry? Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
City Attorney's report.